What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some crazy battles in the Fantasy Cup, running a triple dragon team featuring Giratina Origin Form, Shadow Flygon and Fire Fang Reshiram. I wouldn't necessarily recommend a triple dragon team, but Reshiram in the back caught a load of opponents off guard and came in clutch so many times in these battles. With that being said, let's just get straight into the question of the day. What do you think is the most underrated Pokemon in the Fantasy Cup meta? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so going into the first battle, we need Giratina Origin Form into a Togekiss. Absolutely awful lead, but we have to stay in because Shadow Flygon can do absolutely nothing here. So I'm going to go and build up to the Shadow Ball, bait with an Ominous Wind, and we grab the shield there. And now, because of that bait, I will make it to a second Ominous Wind for some chip damage, but the opponent then swaps and catches the move onto their Tapu Fini. So nice catch there. I'm not sure why I swapped out here. Honestly, should have let the Giratina go down because now I will be switch locked, and if I do take out this Tapu Fini, they can just come in with the Togekiss and fully farm me down. So instead, gonna go for the Earth Power here. Earth Power does get them incredibly low. In actual fact, I will be able to fully Mud Shot farm them down. I know a Surf won't take me out, so this is the best case scenario for me now. After a slight mistake, I'm gonna leave my health with only about 1 charm's worth of damage before they take me out. We go for the Earth Power. That is double resisted. It doesn't do much, but hopefully it puts them into farm down range with the Reshiram, but I'm able to swap and perfectly catch the charge move onto my Giratina. That was kind of just a fluke guess there, but I'm able to get the catch. They come in with Escavalier and they get fully Fire Fang farmed down, and then I'm able to Fire Fang farm down the Togekiss and take that game. So there you can see Reshiram, if you're aligned with an Escavalier or like a Shadow Scissor or something, it's going to do very well. But into the next game here, we see a Giratina altered form in the lead. I swap into Flygon because I will barely outpace them to the first charge move. And let's see what the opponent wants to do. They farm up a ton and then they swap and catch the second Dragon Claw. So very nice play, a bit predictable on my end, and it did allow them to make a very nice catch. But here the opponent going to throw a charge move. I will live a Night Slash from this range. It's not a Shadow Scissor, and now I do have enough energy for the Earth Power, which takes out the Scissor, the opponent giving up switch advantage. But in this case, it doesn't really help me out because this Giratina has so much loaded energy. We have to come in with our own Giratina because Reshiram only has resisted fast move pressure and is very slow to get to that Fusion Flare, which is also resisted. Gonna shield up the Dragon Claw here, and I do barely make it to the Ominous Wind on the CMP tie with this Giratina. Ominous Wind grabs the shield from the opponent, and at this point I can't really afford to use another shield here. They go for the Dragon Claw. They will be able to Shadow Claw, farm me all the way down. And now here, I'm going to wait out the switch clock, come in with my Reshiram, and the opponent swaps into Escavalier here. Honestly, I should have stayed in. They were 1 turn behind, and it's just a case of, do they get the new mechanic or not? If they didn't get the new mechanic, I would have been able to fully Fire Fang, farm them down, but instead, I sacrificed my Flygon, and you're going to see that cost me in the end because I shielded up the Dragon Claw, but they were at the back-to-back, and this Dragon Claw will be enough damage to take out the Reshiram, and I do unfortunately lose that game. But GG's to that opponent, very well played. Into the next game, we see Giratina into an Escavalier, so a very nice lead for us. The opponent save swaps into their own Giratina, and I can't really swap out straight away because I will then be behind on energy. So instead, gonna tank the Dragon Claw, go for a Shadow Ball, and this will do big damage if they let it go through. So they do use a shield, and now with the Shadow Claw damage, I've put them into range where 2 Dragon Claws will be enough to take out the Giratina. So it makes it a little bit more comfortable for the Flygon. I'm going to shield the first move here coming from Giratina. They will make it to another Dragon Claw, and I will happily let the next one go through. Here, I've got to be wary of a catch. Our switch locks are misaligned, and the opponent goes for the catch there. I'm able to hold off, go for the Earth Power, deal big damage to the Tapu Fini. I only make it to a Dragon Claw here, which is unfortunate, but Dragon Claw will grab the shield anyways, which is massive for me. And now I swap into my Giratina. This is just going to be a Surf. Surf will be lived by the Giratina, and I will be able to go for the Shadow Ball, and this will be enough damage to take out the Tapu Fini, and it just depends what do they have in the back. They come back in with the Giratina, so I have to come in with my Reshiram, but let's see. We come in with the Reshiram and they will make it, but no, they swap out into Escavalier once again, and I'm able to Fire Fang, farm down another Escavalier and take that game. So certainly in my first few sets with this team, I saw a lot of Escavalier in the back, so Reshiram was just, it was really funny to use. But into the next battle, we see Tapu Fini in the lead. This is where we want to see it. This is actually a reasonably neutral matchup here, of course. If they land the Moonblast, they win. If they don't, then we win. So we're going to go for that Shadow Ball, shield up the first charge move, and the opponent does bait with a Surf. So if they want, they can win the one shield scenario. So I'm going to go for the Ominous Wind just before they make it to the Moonblast. The opponent uses their shield, and at this point, I am going to let this go through. It is the Moonblast, of course, but that does allow me to Mud Shot, farm them all the way down, and the opponent comes in with a Shadow Alolan Sand Slash. We make it to the Earth Power before they get to the Ice Punch, and the opponent calls the bait. We get that Earth Power landed, it takes out the Sand Slash, and now they've got Registeel in the back. This will be game over. Earth Power does connect once again, and it's just game over. Yeah, we're going to go for the Dragon Claw here. This will still go unshielded, and then we swap into Reshiram just to make the fast move beat down a little bit faster, and they go for a Focus Fast there. I'm able to Fire Fang, farm them down, and take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see Giratina into Giratina. So a bit of an awkward lead matchup here. We're going to stay in initially, and we are going to bait with an Ominous Wind. Unfortunately, we lose the CMP tie. We've got a pretty attack-weighted Giratina. This is actually a lucky, so that's why we've got 14, 13, 13. But obviously, the opponent also running a fairly attack-weighted Giratina. This time, we win the CMP tie, so it looks like we might actually have the same IVs on our Giratina. And I think whilst I was commentating, whilst not really paying too much attention, they got a boost, which is really unfortunate for me. But now we come in with the Flygon. I will be able to outpace them here. I'm not really sure. I think it's only 5 to the next Ominous Wind, and honestly with the boost that would have done a lot of damage, so I just chose to throw straight away. And here I'm able to swap, catch the charge move onto my Reshiram. They go for the Night Slash, and they swap into Escavalier. Can we get another Fire Fang farm down? This time the opponent is actually able to get off their charge move, and it's an Acid Spray. That might be really problematic, but I'm still able to Fire Fang, farm down the Shadow Scissor, and take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see a Dragonite in the lead. This is also a very awkward matchup here, but I'm going to go for the overfarm here. The opponent throwing straight away, and that means I will be able to get off 2 Ominous Winds before they get off the second Dragon Claw. So I go for the first Ominous Wind. The opponent calls the bait, which is unfortunate, but it's just guaranteed damage, and I do make it now to the second Ominous Wind 1 turn before them. The opponent fully sacrifices the Dragonite, and I swap into my Flygon. So I'm going to have to tank a charge move here. Can't afford to go down both shields very early on, but here I'm going to overfarm. The opponent swaps into an Empoleon, and I'm not going to bait. I full send the Earth Power, and the opponent lets it go through. We have to tank 1 Waterfall there, and that puts me into fast move farm down range for the Excadrill, but we grab a first shield from the opponent. I'm now going to come in with my Giratina, just force them to throw their energy, and worst case scenario, they farm all the way to 100, but I don't think they're going to be able to get off back-to-back charge moves up against the Reshiram. It's going to be close, but I'm able to get the Fire Fang through, and if they are at back-to-back, it doesn't matter, as the Fire Fang will take out the Excadrill, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, another Tapu Fini in the lead. So once again, going to stay in this lead matchup. I always farm 210 Shadow Claws just because that will be the typical CMP tie if they threw the Moonblast straight away. We go for the Shadow Ball. The opponent lets it go through, and now I'm going to use my first shield. The opponent is also going to full send the Moonblast, and that will mean I can fully Shadow Claw, farm them all the way down. They get to a charge move, but it will just be a Surf, which we can tank very easily. And now I have a ton of energy. The opponent comes in with a Scissor. We go straight for the Shadow Ball. It connects. We snipe with the Reshiram, and they've got an Excadrill in the back. And even with a shield advantage, they can do literally nothing there, as I would have Fire Fang, farmed them down, and took that game. But there we went 5-0 in that set. A lot of Pokemon very weak to fire in the back. But into the next game, we see a Pokemon weak to fire in the front, in the form of a Berserker. We're going to say swap into the Flygon. They could go for a close combat and dip, so I'm going to shield it up. It is just a foul play. They might not be running the close combat actually, but it doesn't really matter. We use the shield anyways, playing it safe, go for the Earth Power, and we make it to a second Earth Power before this opponent makes it to the Surf. And Earth Power grabs a shield from the opponent, actually a CMP tie, which is the best case scenario. Surf won't quite take me out. I'm not sure if they undercharged that slightly. If they did, then that was a very smart play. But we're going to come in with the Giratina, and I think this is enough that is enough energy for the Moonblast, so we do correctly shield it up. And now I'm going to go for the Shadow Ball into Berserker. That does connect. We swap, we go for the snipe, we get the snipe with the Reshiram, but unfortunately they've got a Flygon in the back, and this is not ideal for me. And by the way, I am running Draco Meteor on my Reshiram, but I don't think I threw it once, so you definitely don't need to run it. If you wanted to run Reshiram, just run Crunch as the second move. You still get walled by Tapu Fini anyways, no point in running Stone Edge, just go for Crunch there, as you can hit those Giratinas, which are probably one of the most problematic Pokemon for this team. But here, unfortunately, we lose the CMP tie as we make it to the Shadow Ball, and we do lose that game. So GG's to that opponent. Into the next game, we see a Giratina into a Shadow Scissor. So I'm going to save swap straight away into my Shadow Flygon, and if the opponent wants to stay in, that's absolutely fine. I can tank a Night Slash. Well, I was going to say comfortably, but it's not that comfortable. And here, it's just a guessing game. Am I going to bait? No, I full send the Earth Power. And the opponent does use a shield there, and you can see we do also make it to the Dragon Claw. So if I baited, I could have perhaps taken both shields or taken them out there, but unfortunately not able to do so. I don't expect him to... Bloody hell, I'm trying to speak so quickly. I don't expect them to throw straight away, so I get off 2 Fire Fangs there, and now they come in with a Dragonite. Now this is really not looking good for us. I'm going to use the shield. The opponent goes for a Dragon Claw. I'm going to overfarm in this matchup and go for the Shadow Ball. I need to go for a Shadow Ball to take them out, and Shadow Ball does grab the shield from the opponent, which is unfortunate. I don't think I'm making it to Shadow Ball number 2, so we have to settle for the Ominous Wind, and that's not enough damage here. We're going to come in with the Reshiram. They've already got a Dragon Claw loaded, but I will be able to Fire Fang, farm them down, but instead the opponent comes in with a Shadow Magnezone. We make it to the Fusion Flare. This will easily be enough damage to one-shot the Magnezone. They come back in with the Dragonite. We get the Fire Fang farm down, and I'm able to Fire Fang, farm down the Scizor, and take that game. So GG's to that opponent. Into the next game, we see a Shadow Magnezone in the lead this time around, and the opponent safe swaps into Guzzlord, and I'll be honest, I had no idea what to do, which is why I'm staying in. I'm going to let the first move go through, and then I will eventually swap into my Shadow Flygon there. We know that our whole team does really well up against that Magnezone, so alignment isn't too much of a worry at the moment, but the opponent goes for a Crunch there instead of going for the Dragon Claw, so I'm thinking they might be running the Sludge Bomb as coverage, which does make sense when Fairy types are one of the 3 types available in this meta, but that allows me to overfarm quite considerably, go for the Dragon Claw. We've got the back-to-back loaded, and the opponent comes in with a Tapu Fini. Now I'm going to go for a Dragon Claw bait. This is risky, but I'm hoping I can grab a shield here, which I am able to do, and now I can full send the Earth Power, and this will do big damage to the opponent and actually grabs a shield. So now I swap back into my Giratina, go straight for that Shadow Ball, and that will do some nice damage. The opponent does make it to the Surf, and at this point I think I'm going to let the Surf go through. We don't quite live it, which is unfortunate. But I'm going to come in with my Reshiram, and hopefully I can Fire Fang farm them all the way down, but they swap into the Shadow Magnezone. Now Reshiram is very glassy. I'm not 100% sure if we live a Wild Charge, so I do shield that up, but that allows me to come out with a Fusion Flare loaded, and Fusion Flare will be taking out the Tapu Fini, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see a Registeel in the lead. So typically, well, I was going to say typically we stay in initially, but the opponent swaps into their Giratina. So once again, going to let the first move go through, going to go for that Shadow Ball straight away, and then I will swap into my Flygon if they shield, but they actually let it go through. So now I'm going to swap and catch the charge move onto the Flygon, knowing that has a very good matchup up against that Registeel, and they have very little fast move pressure as well. So it doesn't matter that we tanked that one move there. They're going to come in with a Tapu Fini. We're going to go for that Earth Power straight away, and Earth Power grabs a shield from the opponent. We commit to the second Earth Power, and we do barely get there. The second Earth Power here will grab both shields from the Tapu Fini, and now it's looking fairly good, although our Giratina is incredibly low to the point where actually a Surf might be enough damage to take us out from this range. So I'm going to have to use a shield here, and the opponent then swaps. They give up switch advantage, and now this should be a guaranteed win for us. I can easily tank any one charge move. They go for the focus bars, and they will not be able to lock on farm me down either. Going to go for the Fusion Flare here from about half health range. This will be enough to take out the Registeel, and now unfortunately they do farm me down, but I'm hoping a Shadow Ball will be enough damage to take them out, but I'm actually doubting myself now. They go for the Surf there. I go for the Shadow Ball. Is this going to be enough damage to take them out? it is not, and they make it to another Surf, and I think even though it's resisted damage, Surf takes out the Giratina, and we do lose that game there. So GG's to that opponent, very well played. I think I probably could have played that end game a little bit differently there and somehow managed to win, but I wasn't able to see the win con at the time of playing. But here into the next game, we see Shadow, Alolan Sandslash in the lead. Pretty difficult lead matchup for us, so I'm going to stay in. The opponent actually making a catch onto Flygon, which is interesting, as I will land the Shadow Ball and make it to an Ominous Wind, which will be enough damage to take them out. So now they have to use a shield there, and they have given up switch advantage, whilst I am not switch locked whatsoever, as I fully let my Giratina go down. So we're going to see a Dragon Claw coming in. I will have to tank the next one, but I'm hoping I will now be able to fully Mudshot, farm down the Flygon from this range, and I'm able to do exactly that. So let's see, the opponent going to come back in with the Sandslash. I go straight for a Dragon Claw bait, very risky, but we grab the shield, and the opponent is going to go for a charge move here, so I'm going to use my shield. They go for the Ice Punch, and now let's see, we swap into Reshiram, going for the snipe, and I'm able to fully Fire Fang, farm them down, and unfortunately I'm not going to make it to a Draco Meteor, so instead I go for a Fusion Flare on the CMP tie with the Shadow Ball. Fusion Flare does actually get them into the yellow health range, and a Dragon Claw I'm hoping should be enough damage to take them out, but they go for an undercharge there. Nice play, but not by enough, as I still have the Dragon Claw loaded, and if anything, the Fire Fang damage put them into range where the Dragon Claw just guaranteed a KO, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent. Into the next game, we see Tapu Fini in the lead. So once again, gonna stay in, gonna count to 10 and go for the Shadow Ball here on the potential CMP tie. I don't think any Tapu Fini is gonna throw straight away either, so it doesn't really matter if you throw a 10 or not, it just helps with your counting. The opponent goes for a Surf there, which is unfortunate. It means it will definitely make it to the Moonblast here before I am able to fully Shadow Claw, farm them down. So here I'm just gonna let the Giratina go down and come back in with my Shadow Flygon, go for a Mudshot, farm down, and we do get 3 Mudshots in before we get the farm down, and now we have a nice energy advantage going into the Giratina. So gonna go for the Dragon Claw straight away, and the opponent lets it go through. We then go for the second Dragon Claw, winning the CMP tie, and Dragon Claw does get let through by the opponent as well, and likewise I'm also gonna let the Dragon Claw go through, and I will be able to make it to another Dragon Claw on the CMP tie. The opponent choosing to overfarm in this matchup, but they let the move go through, and they've got a Registeel in the back, and unfortunately for the opponent, this will be game over. I can tank one charge move, but they won't be able to tank a charge move once I get enough Fire Fang damage onto the Registeel, and this Fusion Flare is going to be enough to take them out. They might shield it, but they choose not to. They know it was game over, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see a Galarian Weezing in the lead. Now, this is very tricky for a triple dragon team here, but I'm going to go for the Shadow Ball straight away, and the good thing is that we win the CMP tie. The opponent uses a shield, and now I'm just going to let the Giratina go down. Play rough actually doesn't quite take us out, so I swap into my Shadow Flygon, and the opponent is going to overfarm here, allowing me to make it to the Earth Power in time, and Earth Power does take out the Weezing, so that's good, but what do they have in the back? They're going to think about what they want to come in with, and they come in with their own Flygon. I do make it to the Dragon Claw in just 3 Mudshots, so I'm 1 fast move ahead of them in that sense. I'm now going to use a shield in this matchup, go for the Dragon Claw straight away, but I will wait 1 turn just to make sure they don't make a catch. They don't make that catch, and Dragon Claw takes out the Flygon. They come in with a Shadow Steelix though, and this is not looking too good for us. I go for the Dragon Claw here, just getting that guaranteed damage, because I'm hoping that I will be able to fully Fire Fang, farm down the Steelix from this range, but they go for a Psychic Fangs. I can't afford to shield the first one, and that puts me into range where they will be able to farm me down. Now I go for a Fusion Flare here, knowing that I'm only sacrificing 1 turn, and that wouldn't have made a difference anyways, as I wouldn't have got that Fire Fang off, but now this is really unfortunate here. I'm going to come in with my Flygon. I have to shield and hope I make it to the Dragon Claw in time, but I'm not able to do so, and now they will make it to a Psychic Fangs here into my Giratina, and from this range it takes out the Giratina, and I do unfortunately lose that game. So Shadow Steelix in the back, very difficult for my team to deal with, but GG's to that opponent. And into, I believe, the final game, we lead into a Clefable. Once again, not an ideal lead for us. Gonna go for that Shadow Ball straight away, and once again we do at least win the CMP tie. So Shadow Ball grabs a shield here from the opponent, and I'm happy to let the Giratina go down. But the opponent baits with a Meteor Mash. That is fine with me. They will now be able to outpace me to the next move, and actually it kind of what makes me want to use a shield here, because now I will be able to make it to Shadow Ball number 2, and this will do some very nice damage to the Clefable, grabbing the final shield, and now I swap into my Shadow Flygon. We're going to use a shield here. The opponent is going to go for another Meteor Mash bait, which is unfortunate. I'm going to overfarm. They come in with Escavalier here, and I can't overfarm by too much because unfortunately they will win the CMP tie up against me. So I go one fast move before they make it to the Drill Run. Dragon Claw takes out the Escavalier, and they're probably going to come back in with the Clefable. And they do come in with the Clefable. They throw just before I make it to the next Earth Power, and Meteor Mash from this range will take me out. So I'm going to wait out my switch clock here and then come in with my Reshiram. I should be able to live any one charge move here because a Moonblast will be neutral damage and the Meteor Mash will be resisted. We do barely live it. They come in with the Excadrill, but I'm able to make it to the Fusion Flare. Fusion Flare takes out the Excadrill. They come back in with the Clefable, and I'm able to Fire Fang, farm them down, and take that game. Oh, actually, that was not the final game. Into the next battle, we see Empoleon in the lead, and the opponent safe swaps into a Tapu Fini, so that is absolutely fine with us. We're going to stay in this matchup here, and I go for the Shadow Ball, once again throwing after 10, and the opponent CMP ties me here, and this is interesting because, of course, if they switched there, then they were one turn behind, meaning they didn't have enough energy for the Moonblast. But then I started doubting myself. I was like, why would they throw there? So I ended up shielding anyways, and it's just a psychological battle that apparently this opponent is winning at the moment, as they're able to make it to the Moonblast, grab both my shields, and now they swap into Clefable. So I believe that it was Clefable. We're going to go for the Shadow Ball. No, it's actually a Florges, which isn't really much better, but I'm going to let the charge move go through, of course. This will be a Disarming Voice, which takes out the Giratina. They come in with the Empoleon, and I'm hoping that I will be able to live a Hydro Cannon from this range, but it's going to do a ton of damage. But we do barely hang on. We're going to go for the Earth Power, and I'm actually going to undercharge this, just so I can give Reshiram a slight energy advantage going into that Florges in the back. Now remember, we are Dragon and Fire, so we take neutral damage from these Fairy type charge moves. We go for Fusion Flare on the CMP tie, and I should be able to live a Moonblast from this range, and I am barely able to. I Fire Fang, farm them down, and take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.